Thanks for joining us for another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. I'm pleased to have with us Hillel Fuld. He is on this program today, and he is an Israeli startup advisor, a tech columnist, and a speaker, and he comes to us from the state of Israel. Welcome to the show, Hillel. Lots to talk about today.
Thank you for having me.
I guess the first question is, obviously there is continued conflict. The war on Israel continues unabated. What do you see as the state of the Israeli economy in this situation?
An interesting question. There's actually a news piece that just came out, I believe it was yesterday. The Wall Street Journal reported that Google is about to make its largest acquisition ever, and Israel is about to make its largest exit ever. A company called Wiz, a cybersecurity company powered by AI, is about to be acquired by Google for $23 billion. Now, wow. That's just one instance, but if you look across the board, whether it's funding, rounds of finances and acquisitions and many other metrics, Israel's economy is doing just fine.
And obviously, there's such a really interesting connection, obviously, in my visits to Israel over the years. As an industry minister, I learned a lot about Startup Nation. So that continues to be a force despite the challenging circumstances.
Well, actually, I like to call it Scale-Up Nation now, because traditionally Israeli entrepreneurs were very good at building startups, but we also traditionally sold those companies too early. We let them mature. I interviewed Mark Andreessen many years ago, the man who invented Netscape and one of the biggest investors in the tech world, and I asked him, why are you not in Israel? And he answered me, you guys sell too early. And he was right. That's no longer the case. And now when I meet with entrepreneurs and with venture capitalists, everyone's talking about building large, sustainable businesses and not startups.
And do they have access to capital to do that?
Oh, of course. You have every leading venture capital firm in the world, with almost no exceptions, have opened up shop in Israel. And even those that haven't opened up shop have someone on the ground scouting deals. So you have, some of the leading investors in the world pouring billions of dollars into Israel.
Very interesting. I wanted to ask about the startup and the scale-ups, now that you've drawn that to my attention. And I don't want to be in a sensitive area, but clearly having that acumen has helped in the defense of Israel. Is that your assessment of the situation as well?
100%. This war is primarily tech. There's so much tech being used in this war. It's really unprecedented, whether it's tech within the Hamas tunnels to detect, movement or the existence of terrorists in there, through, AI detection, to find bots online. And really the list is long. So tech is playing a significant role in this war.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put it this way, because there's a lot of, and we'll talk about this as well, a lot of disinformation about Israel in our country here in Canada, but throughout the world as well. But I'm venturing to guess that having that tech involved in the war saves civilian lives, not only Israeli civilians but also Gazans as well. Is that a fair point to make?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just take precision weapons, right? There's a lot of, like you said, disinformation about, indiscriminate killing in Gaza. Obviously, that's not the case, not even remotely true. Israel's using incredibly sophisticated precision weapons to minimize civilian deaths, and we're dealing with an enemy that's doing the exact opposite, and it's trying to maximize civilian deaths. So, this is a war in terms of its complexity that's, unparalleled. Israel's really fighting, first of all, an enemy that has no boundaries and no, reason to stick to the truth or any sort of moral compass. And it's in, an area, Gaza, that is just so densely populated that Israel really has to take incredible measures to minimize civilian deaths, and it's doing an incredible job at that.
A very interesting perspective. Thank you about that. I know that the war has affected your family personally. Do people in Israel continue to support the IDF and the war versus Hamas in the same numbers?
Right. So my late brother, Ari Fuld, was murdered in a terrorist attack 5.5 years ago. It wasn't in this war per se, right, but it's, part of the conflict. We know how the press works. We know how media works. And, they got to get clicks. So they like to show divide in Israeli society. But the reality is the opposite, that the entire country stands behind this war. There are, debates about whether to take this hostage deal or not to take the hostage deal. But, the country as a whole stands behind the government and the IDF, and the need to completely, obliterate Hamas from planet Earth.
Hillel Fuld, we're going to take a brief break for commercials. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the program. We'll be right back after these messages.